Speaking
That's
of
real funny.
Oppenheimer, though, the Oppenheimer filmmaker, Christopher Nolan, had some comments recently that I thought were interesting on the Countdown to the BAFTAs podcast, where he said he thinks we're entering a post intellectual property era for blockbuster filmmaking. He said, I think the success of Oppenheimer certainly points to a sort of post franchise, post intellectual property landscape for movies. It's kind of encouraging. Oppenheimer ended 2023 as the third highest grossing film in the US, behind the Super Mario Bros. Movie and Barbie. This is the first time in a long time that none of the top three highest grossing movies in a year were sequels, prequels, or spin-offs. Art, just a really quick bit of trivia for you. When do you think is the last time that the top three films in a year were none of those three things?
And we're not counting like Transformers starting.
No, it can be the start of a franchise, but it can't be the sequel to the start.
Oh, one.
That's a great call. Oh, one. It was the last time that the top three movies at the box office were all non-sequels, although those three films were... sorry, it's pulling up. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, The Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the King, and Monsters, Inc. and Shrek. So movies that ended up getting sequels anyway, but still, at the time, they were original.
At the time, they were. Two things.
Yeah.
One, that is kind of funny that they all ended up just becoming that, and we're at the same point now where we have originals, but when Barbie gets a second one, what are we going to count it, right? We're all touting Super Mario Bros. Well, what happens when that gets a sequel? Two, you had it linked there, so don't thank me, bro. It was pretty easy.
I was hoping you'd wait to click it, but...
That's a long time.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're probably getting a sequel to Super Mario Bros. We're probably getting a spin-off at least from Barbie, if not a sequel at some point. Oppenheimer's the one that's probably in the clear.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Like, I don't know. Is it bad for me to say that after complaining all these times, we're like, oh, the franchise. Now it's clear? Mm-hmm. Can I now give a new spin after being so grim about these franchises, and now the fog is cleared? Maybe there have been really big movies every other time. If we're going back to 2001 and you're showing me 5 things that all... Bruh, tell me which one of these doesn't have a number 5. Harry Potter. Lord of the Rings.
You got to go down to Pearl Harbor at number 6.
2, right? Because it's Monsters,
even Ocean's
University
11
and the show.
Even Ocean's 11 has got 2 sequels, a spin-off, and a prequel on the way.
Yeah. So it really is just Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Wow. Rough times. I'm just saying that I think every year there is always something new, but we always are on this fear game. But I think just making it the way that he made his, it's now out there, right? I am excited to go revisit Tenet this upcoming week with the re-release, because you and I never had the chance to go see that in theaters, much less IMAX, right? I got a big trip to go see Tenet and Dune 2. I think they've always been there. It's just about what you decide to focus on, right? Like, we could focus this entire podcast on the things we don't like, or we could focus on the things we do like. For example, a lot of the movies that we covered for Sundance, 2 stars for you, right? Because we focus on all the good ones already. Mm-hmm. I think many times we've had every conversation with a Nolan, with a Scorsese, be about Marvel. It's what you were saying. You made yourself have that be the focus. Mm-hmm. And I think the more that we steer the different way, right? If we consider Netflix documentaries to be prestige documentaries, then that's all it takes to believe that they are. Him making Oppenheimer, I think, is all we needed to showcase that a movie like this can make that money.
Totally.
And I think we're in a moment where in 2001, all of those became something else. And I do feel like we're praising Oppenheimer. Why are we including Barbie and Super Mario in that success?
I mean, on the one hand, yeah, they are movies that are heavily based on pre-existing intellectual property, and they are taking advantage of their brand recognition in order to launch themselves to great box office success. On the other hand, they are not sequels, and they are chances for filmmakers to try a new thing. And, obviously it worked a lot better for me in Barbie than it did in the Super Mario Bros. Movie. But I think to speak to his point specifically about the idea of intellectual property not being as powerful as maybe it was recently, I could see some of that, because I do think we've seen a hunger for these films from these like auteurist filmmakers, whether it is the interest in Killers of the Flower Moon, or even the hype around stuff like Napoleon and Ferrari. Like, yeah, it's not necessarily going to beat Super Mario Bros. At the box office, but I do think there is an uptick, at least, of interest in these non-franchise related films, that are coming from these established filmmakers. People wanted to see Barbie because they want to see a Barbie movie, but also a lot of people want to see it because they want to see a new Greta Gerwig movie.
True. I forget, Oppenheimer, is it adapted or is it original?
It's adapted off of the biography. But, it's not, there's a big difference between a New York Times bestseller and the most popular video game character of all time.
I'm just asking questions, bro. But I heard someone try to argue that the book was out there, so it's IP. I think that's funny.
Yeah, true. Technically speaking, I think we know the difference between intellectual property and something that's just an adaptation.
I think it's also going to be very interesting with just, with streaming services and everything else. It's what you go for, because I was thinking about with Dune, the spinoff for the Sisterhood miniseries,
right?
The Batman having the Penguin one. We're looking at those and pretending like we wouldn't be making fun of them if it was a Marvel movie. So we are in a shifting time where the originators, all of these people, Spielberg saying he never do streaming, they're doing it. And I think we're now in this new thing where, there was that line, are these directors selling out or are they just cashing in? I feel you wait long enough and terms change. You wait long enough and now spinoffs and sequels won't always be the worst thing. He did do a trilogy. You don't think he's got another one in the works, or you think he's specifically saying this because he's looking at individual projects? Because even Denny right now, I think he's got a couple more Dunes in him.
I mean, he's talking about doing the third Dune, but I think he was saying he doesn't want to do more than that, right?
But I think he's still producing like the shows and stuff. So he's overseeing it, kind of building a playground the way I just mentioned the Batman. What's his name?
Reeves,
right? Yeah, Matt Reeves. So I don't know, it's these interesting playgrounds where, like you were saying, Barbie is considered more original. This is a discussion we've been having because of the director who's behind it. Denny, Nolan, we look past it being IP because we know that they're going to bring something original to it. So I don't know, maybe we do need that third category we've been saying. That midpoint of adapted original script, because
coming around.
Not going anywhere. The remix category.
Yeah.
The mixtape script. There you go.
Exactly.